Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Acumatica Commerce Edition Virtual Lunch and Learn, presented by Fortuitas and Acumatica. Lunch is brought to you today by Grubhub, courtesy of Acumatica. So sit back, enjoy your lunch, and let's begin the presentation. I'm Jack Kurtz, CEO and founder of Fortuitas. I'll be your host for today's presentation. And joining me today are Johnny Gregory, client partner at Fortuitas, and Josh Fisher, senior product manager from Acumatica. Okay, let's go over today's agenda. The first item on our agenda is what we call Fortuitas powered by Acumatica. Fortuitas is a team of e-commerce experts, so we understand your business and we understand the e-commerce space really well. And we see Acumatica as the business productivity platform that we use to help run your entire business and connect it to your e-commerce platform and other sales channels. So Johnny will be covering this topic, and then Josh will go into more detail specifically about the Acumatica Commerce Edition, followed by a really cool demo of the Commerce Edition. And we'll share some additional resources with you. We recognize that evaluating a cloud ERP solution is quite a process. So we'll provide you with access to some valuable tools, including the ERP evaluation checklist, data sheets, white papers, case studies, and some additional videos and other resources. We've also got some attractive pricing promotions and discounts for all of you who are attending today's Lunch and Learn. We'll go over that in detail. And then we'll save time for some of your questions at the end of the presentation. Just a quick housekeeping item. We've placed all of you on mute by default, if you've noticed, just so we can get through today's presentation efficiently. If you have any questions during the presentation, you don't need to wait until the end. You'll notice a chat icon on the Zoom control panel. So just go ahead and enter your questions throughout the presentation and I'll monitor them. And we'll try and get to as many of your questions as possible at the end. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Johnny, who's going to talk about Fortuitas powered by Acumatica.
Hey everybody, Johnny here from Fortuitas. Thanks for the introduction, Jack. I hope everybody had a chance to partake in Grubhub and is enjoying their meal today. I'm sure it's pretty awesome. So just to cover a little bit about Fortuitas powered by Acumatica, what that means is that we are e-commerce experts, and that's not only just with the technology, but also your business, which includes your strategy, your UI, technology, product management, systems integration, and marketing. So we have experience in all of those different categories. We hope to be an extension of your e-commerce business like Acumatica is as the underlying platform that drives your business. We're there to help support your technology stack. So we also support all the major e-commerce platforms. The one specifically that we'll be demoing today would be BigCommerce. So Josh will tell you a little bit about that, but we also do support Magento and Shopify as well. And then we'll show you part of what makes the BigCommerce integration really nice is that it is a native connector built into the Commerce Edition. And it's both strong in B2C and B2B markets as well. So it's really nice. And then just to give you a little bit of an idea of who our customers are, this is a segmentation of a lot of the folks that we have in the e-commerce space. So just, take a look. We are very familiar with how technology and e-commerce go hand in hand. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about Cloud ERP. So what is Cloud ERP? Acumatica provides Cloud ERP and what it does is it helps you manage best practices for your solutions, and it creates a digital resiliency for your companies. Excuse me. So it's built for both mobile and telework scenarios. So in kind of the scenario that we're all in right now with COVID-19 and the lockdown, being mobile and being able to work from home is very, very much needed. And so Acumatica delivers that flexibility and efficiency, also while providing you with continuity within your operations. And if me here talking about Acumatica is enough They do have a ton of customer testimonials. Specifically, the one that I like is the one about Palmer Food Service. So Liz Palmer mentioned that they began running Acumatica. They're in a company in Tennessee. They got hit by tornadoes, and they are a national distributor. So they were able to still keep running while all of this was happening. And then on top of it, with the COVID-19 situation, they were still able to provide superior service. And to back all that up, Acumatica is an award-winning platform as well. So they've been noted by PC Mag, SIA, Gartner, and G2 Crowd. Most notably is that they are high in customer usability satisfaction. And what that means is that when you're in the platform as a user, the interface works really well and people like it. So you're going to be in it quite a bit, so you might as well like the platform that you're using. Acumatica is also a strategic partner with both Amazon and Microsoft. So two of the largest cloud hosting providers in the world, Acumatica is a part of, which is really nice to have that sort of backing. And that also allows for Acumatica to have flexible deployment options. And so most clients that we see are going to be choosing the SaaS offering, but there are some edge cases where people do need to have it hosted on premise or due to some sort of restrictions or legal obligations. And that does Acumatica allows you to do that. So you have a lot of flexibility with the platform, as well as having an open architecture for rapid integration. So what this means, all of these different logos that you see surrounding the Acumatica logo are people who are able to integrate with Acumatica seamlessly through their API. It just makes things a lot easier for you if you are using different programs like Smartsheets or Office 365 or even BigCommerce for this. And if you're worried about scale in a SaaS platform, there's no need to worry. Acumatica is processing over 180 million ERP transactions per month. So the scale is there. All we need is you guys to be able to push your business through the platform. And then we talked a little bit about being mobile. Well, the great thing about Acumatica is that it can be accessed from any device, anywhere, at any time. And so it doesn't matter whether you're in your office, on your phone. You can even now connect it with Alexa and Siri so that you can use voice commands. And so Acumatica is surrounded by a core grouping of products. The core product includes finance, project accounting, inventory management, customer management, payroll. So all of these things are native within the platform. You get all that you need to run and enable automated process for accurate data collection, financial analyses, forecasting, and help you drive better business decisions with the platform. And then what we're going to be talking about specifically is the Commerce Edition. Now, there are add-on editions available as well that you can see on the screen here, but we're going to talk specifically just about the Commerce Edition and what that's going to give you. And so basically what the Commerce Edition is allowing you to do is you're going to have a native connector to BigCommerce. If you are looking at a different platform, it's going to be a third-party connector, but within the BigCommerce platform, it's completely native. But what this does is that it allows you to have that omni-channel experience of being able to have your ERP system synced with all of your commerce platforms. And then lastly, one of the things that I really like is the way that Acumatica backs their product with a certain standard. And that standard is the Acumatica Customer Bill of Rights. Basically, it's 10 statements that they're giving to their clients to say, hey, we've got your back, and this is what you're going to be guaranteed from Acumatica. The biggest thing there, if you look at number 7, is you have access to your data at any time. So there are other platforms that will either lock down your data, give it to you in a terrible format, or They just, make it really hard for you to actually access your data. Acumatica doesn't do that because they know that it's important for you to be able to have that level of access. And so with that, by using Acumatica, it's going to help you scale your business. There's a very friendly licensing program. It's all based on a consumption-based model, so you don't have to ever worry about whether or not you're going to have to get new licenses for people that come new to your company or anything like that. It's all based on just the amount of resources that you're using. So the more you grow, the more you're going to use Acumatica, and that's what's going to change. And then we also have dual layers of support. So you are not only just being supported by Acumatica. Part of the value that we bring is our expertise in e-commerce, and we are that layer that sits right above Acumatica in terms of support. So the combined value of Fortuitas powered by Acumatica is going to help you increase the efficiency in your operations. It's going to lower your costs. Your inventory, things like inventory, integrations, product management, all of those things are going to help you by going with Acumatica. It's going to help you reduce those errors, increase rapid deployment of offerings. So we want to make sure that you are able to operate your business anytime, anywhere, on any device. And so with that, that's my whole thing. So I'm going to hand it off to Josh. And I'm going to stop share for a moment.
Thank you. I will take over. Okay, should be able to see my screen now. Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Fisher. I'm the Senior Product Manager of the Commerce Edition at Acumatica. Thanks to Johnny and Jack for inviting me to speak with you today. And thanks for sitting in on this Lunch and Learn. Today, I want to talk to you about the Commerce Edition. As Johnny pointed out, Acumatica comes in multiple editions. And really, the entire platform is made up of mini modules. And those editions are collections of modules that support different industries. When we talk about the Commerce Edition, here, for some reason I'm not sliding forward. Here we go. When we talk about the Commerce Edition, what we're talking about is a commerce-enabled ERP. Now, the ERP is one foundation. It's one foundation of software that's used by organizations to manage the entire breadth of their organization for things like accounting, project management, customer relationship management, sales orders, inventory. Everything is inside the ERP. So typically when team members start their day, they log into the ERP and they spend their entire day there. So what we've done is we've built a connector inside the ERP that allows the ERP to connect to third-party systems like e-commerce platforms. And then that e-commerce platform can essentially become an extension of the ERP. We spent a lot of time looking at businesses that do business online and what's important to them. And really what we've learned in talking with distributors and manufacturers is when they're selling online, retailers as well, it's really important to them that they can manage as much of their business inside the ERP as possible. But they want to be able to push information out to their e-commerce platform, and they want information that comes from the e-commerce platform, like sales orders, for instance, or customer information. They want that information to be able to flow back into the ERP seamlessly. Sometimes that's done in real time. Sometimes it's based on a schedule. But they need it to be easy, and they need as much data as possible to flow out of the ERP into their e-commerce platform, and vice versa, as easily as possible. Now, what we've done with the connector is we've built an integration, a native integration to an e-commerce platform called BigCommerce. As Johnny mentioned, Acumatica has the capability of integrating with multiple e-commerce platforms. But this native integration that I'm going to be talking about today is with an e-commerce platform called BigCommerce. Just a little bit about BigCommerce. They're a SaaS-based platform. It's a very flexible system. One of the terms that they use to explain their platform is that it's an open SaaS system, which means that it's SaaS, it's in the cloud. You sign up for a monthly subscription. You don't have to worry about things like security and updates and maintenance. but at the same time, it's a very flexible system. It's not very common for systems in the cloud to be so flexible. So one of the great things about both BigCommerce and Acumatica. They call it open SaaS as, you know, kind of a play on words, referencing the open source world. The open source world, where you have e-commerce platforms like Magento, those systems are 100% open source, which means that you download the entire package, the entire platform in its code, you launch it on a server that you own and maintain, and you can do anything that you want with the system. But with that comes a lot of extra responsibility. You're responsible for security, you're responsible for maintaining the server, all the maintenance for the code, it's all on you. With a system like BigCommerce, what's really beneficial about it is that they take all those challenges off of your plate and just allow you to focus on your business and doing sales or making money online. So what we have is this native integration with BigCommerce. It uses the API, it uses push notifications to allow data to flow back and forth in real time, and that's what I'm going to be showing you today. Now, a little bit about how we've built this. The Commerce Connector is actually a layer that sits on top of the ERP. So the ERP is where all of your data resides. It's the platform that you're logging into on a daily basis and where you're managing all the different aspects of your business. We've built a layer on top of the ERP, which we call the Commerce Connector, and that is what connects out to the BigCommerce e-commerce platform. Now, the e-commerce platform, I'll show you in a minute, has its own backend. It has an admin area where you can manage additional information, or you can make configurations for creating the kind of customer experience that you want for your buyers. So data is flowing from the ERP through the Commerce Connector out to that e-commerce platform, and then that eventually gets pushed out to the website where customers can see your products, they can create accounts, they can place orders. When they take those actions, all of that data is flowing then back to the BigCommerce admin, and then from there back into the ERP. Again, think about BigCommerce in this scenario as an extension of the ERP itself. Really, you're doing the majority of your work inside the ERP, and then you're using this e-commerce platform as a web-based location where you can engage with your customers and they can engage with you. Now, some of the features that we've built into the system, we took time to talk with a lot of different e-commerce businesses, and we found out which entities are really important for them to integrate between the two systems. And some of those are obvious: products, customers, sales orders, but we've even taken it so far as to be able to push out price list information for customer-specific pricing. Just using this as one example, what we wanted was to be able to offer a solution to not only B2C sellers, but also B2B sellers. And one of the things that's really important to B2B sellers is that their customers have access to their specific pricing. It's very common for distributors and manufacturers to have their customers, and they negotiate rates with them, usually depending on volume of sales or the length of their relationship. And when those buyers log into the site, they're expecting to see their prices on all of these products. So they don't have to call in to their sales rep and, you know, put together quotes and talk about what kind of discounts they're going to get, things like that. By giving the customer the tools, they can, it's all about self-service. You want to give the customer the tools to be able to log into the site, educate themselves about the products that you offer, see the prices that are relevant to them, add those items to a cart, and then push that into the ERP as a sales order. Giving them that self-sufficiency isn't only beneficial to you, it's really beneficial to the buyer too. I believe Forrester a couple years ago did a survey with some B2B customers, and what they found was that, or I'm sorry, B2B buyers, and what they found was about 67% of those B2B buyers said that they would much rather do research online about products rather than working directly with a sales rep. Being able to have access to that information is highly beneficial to them. And then if they have to, if questions get too deep, they always have that sales rep to reach out to. But that benefits you and your team. It saves you a lot of time. But at the same time, if it's what they're asking for, why not give it to them? So as you can see, lots of different entities are syncing. Like I said before, these can be synchronized in real time, manual, or scheduled. Additionally, there's lots of different features that have been built into the system. Everything that you see here, and I'm not going to read through the whole list, but everything that you see here is supported out of the box. And it covers things like I mentioned, customer specific pricing. It also supports the ability to manage inventory in multiple warehouses, sending inventory from those multiple locations out to the e-commerce site. Let's say, for instance, you have 4 different warehouses, but only 2 of those warehouses have inventory that you want to sell online. It's very easy to just configure the system to only pull inventory numbers from those 2 warehouses. And that'll drill down even to locations within the warehouses if that's important to you. There's lots of different features here. Like I said, all of this is out of the box. It can be configured during the initial implementation. Okay, so with all of that in mind, let's just go ahead and jump into a demo. So here, I'm logged into an instance of Acumatica. This is a 2020 R1 version of the system. I'm also logged into the back end of BigCommerce. As I mentioned before, BigCommerce has its own admin area. And if you didn't have an ERP, this is where you would do all of your work. This is where you would go to set up your products and customers. This is where you would process orders. Of course, with the ERP, as I mentioned, you're going to be doing the majority of your work inside the ERP, but we're pushing and pulling information to this admin. So everything that you're doing is still available here inside the admin. I also have a demo website launched. Obviously, this is the demo site that's connected to the ERP. So let's go ahead and look at a product. Obviously, the BigCommerce system, as I mentioned before, very easy to work with. This site, honestly, I designed this myself, put it together in a matter of days with ease. The system offers lots of templates, and you can put these sites together relatively quickly. So let's go in and look at one of these cameras. So whenever I pull up this camera page, this is, we've all seen pages like this before. It's your typical product details page. And what we're seeing here, if we really drill into it, we're seeing a title, we're seeing photographs, we're seeing SKU information, attributes about the particular product. We're seeing inventory levels. If we go down a little further, here's the full description. We even have videos that are coming in about this particular product. And what's great about this is everything I just pointed out is actually driven from the ERP. So if we go into the inventory, and I'm going to pull up the stock items, and let's just drill down to that D7500, and we open up this item. Now inside the ERP, there's lots of information that you can manage about products. Okay, if you've been in this business long, you know that the ERP itself is going to support lots of areas of information about these products. But what we're most interested in today is this e-commerce tab. And this is where you would log in to manage things like how the product is available to the customer. Maybe it's visible, maybe it's featured, maybe you want to send it to the website, but you don't want customers to see it yet. You can make those settings on the individual product level. You can also do things like control search engine optimization, keywords and meta descriptions and page titles. This is all very important for Google. You can even insert keywords that will be indexed by the BigCommerce site so that search terms that are used on the website are used to find this particular product. On an individual item level, you can control how the inventory levels will impact the customer experience. So for instance, maybe this product goes out of stock very often, but you always have more coming. So no matter what the inventory levels are, you want to be able to allow customers to buy the item. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you have a short run of this product, and as soon as your inventory hits 0, you need to take that product off the website as soon as possible. You can configure that here inside the item, and then this will push information out to the website in real time. It'll control that customer experience. Those videos that we saw, they're added right here. They were all YouTube videos. We're just dropping a URL here and telling the system this is a video, and the system knows to push it out to that product details page in the location that's available inside that BigCommerce theme. We also have the description that we looked at. The description has a WYSIWYG, which is for what you see is what you get. This is everything you're used to in an application like Word. You can add content, add bullets, headers, links. It's very flexible. This all gets sent to BigCommerce as HTML, so it gets rendered to match all of your style sheets inside the platform. And you can do things like add related items. You can control the price from the item. All of this information is being sent over to BigCommerce. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this item. I'll add this to my cart. One other thing I want to show you while we're here. Notice that the price of this item is $14.99. Right now, I'm on the site as an anonymous user, as a guest. I'm not logged into the site. But let's go ahead and sign in. I'm going to sign in as a B2B customer, and then we'll go back to that camera page. What I want to show you is that now that I'm logged in, see the camera is now $12.99. That price is adjusting because I'm that B2B customer and I have customer specific pricing that's configured inside the ERP. That's pushing information out to BigCommerce to let it know when this B2B customer logs in, we need to adjust their prices accordingly. And that can be on a product by product basis. It could be an entire product category. It could be all products. You have the flexibility inside the ERP to make those kinds of adjustments, to apply customer specific pricing to the most appropriate products. You can also configure it so that one B2B buyer has access to a fraction of your inventory, but another B2B buyer has access to all of your inventory. You can control that customer experience. Again, it's all managed from inside the ERP. It gets pushed out to BigCommerce. Now, when we were looking at the camera is what I call a simple product. It's just one product, one SKU, one price. But it's very common in the e-commerce world to sell things like apparel. Apparel is my favorite universal example, like t-shirts. Now, when you're looking at a t-shirt, from a customer's point of view, especially in a B2C world, they're looking at this t-shirt as one product. But in reality, it's not one product because it comes in many different colors and sizes. And each of the combinations of color and size represent a different SKU inside of the ERP. So when I drill down to this white t-shirt in the medium size, I'm given new information like the current stock for this t-shirt. It updates the SKU. And if I jump down to, let's say, a 2X, notice that the price even updates. Again, this information is managed inside the ERP. We go into what we call template items. The template items are that parent item that I mentioned before. It's the single item that the end B2C buyer thinks about. But really, we're using these template items to create what we call matrix inventory. So inside of the ERP, you can create the attributes for color and size. You can set values for those different colors and sizes. Then you can use matrix inventory to quickly create SKUs representing each of the different combinations. So we have the ability to control how those SKUs and descriptions are made. And then once we create that matrix inventory item, we can assign which ones should be created. And the system on its own will create all the different SKUs for us. What's great about this is I can go to the template item and I can make adjustments to the template. And once I save that and apply it to the matrix inventory items, it'll update all the matrix inventory items for me. So before, when we were looking at the camera, there were things like the description and the title. Those kinds of things can be managed here inside this one template item, which can then be applied to all of those individual items. And if for whatever reason, just like the pictures, if for whatever reason you need information here to update on an individual SKU basis, it's possible to do that. Okay. All right, so while we're here, I'm just going to go ahead and add one of these to my cart as well. And then we'll proceed to checkout. Now, when we get into the checkout, all of us have been through this before. I'm already logged into the system. Because I'm logged in, the system knows a lot about me. I'm a B2B customer. So imagine that maybe I'm a retailer and I'm buying these items for my retail shops. I may have a dozen different addresses in the system. As that B2B buyer, I can manage all of these addresses inside of BigCommerce, and that information will flow over to the ERP. At the same time, if I call in to the organization and I place an order online, maybe I give them a new address, they save that address to my record inside the ERP. The next time I log into the BigCommerce site, I can expect to see that address available to me here. Same thing with changes. Maybe I mistyped my address. If I make that change here, it'll flow in the ERP, vice versa. The two systems completely in sync. Okay. For now, I'm just going to choose this top address for both my shipping and my billing address. When we get into shipping, every single customer I talk to, they handle shipping just a little bit differently. Now, for demo purposes, the only thing I've done is set up free shipping, and I've assigned a rule so that anytime my cart is total is greater than $1,000, I'm offered free shipping. But then I have these other flat rates, which, $7 for ground, $12 for 2-day. And what I'm doing, I configured these flat rates inside of BigCommerce, but then I can map these to specific ship vias inside of the ERP. So there's a good chance that the customer is going to pay $7 for this shipping. But once the order goes into the ERP, then you can actually use whichever shipping service you're using to calculate the actual costs. And maybe it'll be $7.50, maybe it'll be $4. But the ERP is built in such a way that it will handle the discrepancy between the two. It'll save the amount that the customer paid on the sales order, and it'll also save the true cost of shipping on the sales order. The customer, in this case, would never see how much you're actually paying for shipping. They'll just continue to see this $7. And that's just the beginning. You could integrate this directly with FedEx or UPS. If LTL is important to you, it's possible to integrate BigCommerce with LTL services as well, along with the ERP. If you're using a system like ShipStation, same thing. BigCommerce integrates with ShipStation, so does Acumatica, and you could have essentially a triangular system that's connecting all three of those platforms and passing data back and forth. So really what's important is when you're implementing the system, you just have to sit down and talk with Fortuitas and about what the needs are. And once that's spec'd out, this system can be configured to match it. We have the ability to add notes. I'm going to do that real quick so I can just show you how that works, and we're going to continue on. Now, when we get into billing, just like I talked about with shipping, billing can be handled in many different ways. Some customers that I talk with, they just want to accept credit cards online. When you get into the B2B realm, terms are very important. A lot of customers, they want to be able to place orders online, but they want to use the terms that they've negotiated before. And maybe that could be net 30 terms, net 45 terms, but essentially they want to be able to get the order into the ERP and then deal with the payment later. All of those things are possible. So BigCommerce offers many different configurations for payment. And again, those different payment options are going to map to payment methods inside the ERP so that everything's in sync. In this case, we're just going to use a test credit card. This is just using their test credit card gateway, and we're going to place this order. Now, once we place the order, I can see that this is order 197. Now, everything is configured to flow in real time. So that order right now is being sent inside the ERP. And this is a good time for me to go in and show you the tools that are inside of the Commerce Edition. So when you add Commerce Edition to the ERP, you receive this tab here on the left, which gives you all these different tools. And these tools are specifically for managing data that's flowing back and forth between the ERP. One of the first things that I like to show people is this dashboard. Out of the box, we've included this dashboard that can be manipulated to whatever you like. But the dashboard is just a really quick place that an e-commerce manager could go to just get a quick pulse on everything that's going on. Obviously, this is a demo site, so I'm not processing thousands of orders a day. But for an e-commerce manager that is working for a business, maybe they're doing 100 orders a day, maybe they're doing 10,000 orders a day, being able to look at a dashboard like this can give them great insight as to what's going on, if there are challenges that they need to work through, how many orders did we get yesterday, things like that. And like I mentioned before, all of this is just the starting point. You could add additional widgets and dashboards to the system to show whatever data you like. Okay. Back in the Commerce tab, this is also where you would go through the process of configuring your integration with BigCommerce. One thing that I want to mention is that you're not limited to connecting to one store. If you wanted to connect to multiple BigCommerce stores, that's definitely possible. We have customers in Canada that sell to audiences that speak English and they speak French Canadian. So in their case, they have two BigCommerce stores. One obviously with English and one in French Canadian, and the ERP is connected to both of them. So they'll go through the process that I'm about to show you to connect both of those, and you can set up default settings for each of those sites. And there are plugins for the ERP that allow you to manage multiple languages on all of these different windows. So when we were looking at the product earlier, you would be able to add a description in both French and English if you needed to. And then with this system, you could tell the data where to go appropriately. So when you're connecting between BigCommerce and Acumatica, you're simply dropping in your API keys and your WebDAV information. This is, to non-technical people, it might sound confusing, but it's actually incredibly easy. You can turn on and off the entities that you want flowing back and forth. You can set up your default customer settings, like when a new customer is created in BigCommerce, bring them in as a key customer or bring them in as another customer class. You can set up auto numbering. You can assign, if you want to allow guest customers to check out, you can assign them to a specific guest customer account inside the ERP. On a default level, you can control how your inventory impacts the e-commerce site. Like I talked about before, when quantity gets low, maybe you want products to come off the site. You can do that on a global level and then update it on an individual product level as well. Order settings, the same thing. This is where you're mapping those shipping zones that I talked about. These are all the different shipping zones that are in the ERP, and we have them mapped to specific ship vias. I'm just using a default BigCommerce ship via, but obviously these would probably all be different. You can set up your sales orders, return information, how you're synchronizing taxes. It's all done here. Same thing with your payment methods. You can map these to different payment methods inside the ERP. Once you get that set up, typically you don't go back into that screen very often unless you need to add a new feature, whatever it may be. But once it's set up, data's flowing back and forth between the two systems. You can adjust which entities are flowing in real time. You know, for some customers, they may want some information to be real time, like inventory, but they don't want sales orders to be real time for whatever reason. So you can do that on an entity by entity level. You can also control how data flows. In some cases, it's important that customer information is bidirectional, meaning that customer information is going from the ERP to BigCommerce and vice versa. In other cases, maybe information's only exporting out. So you have control over those kinds of things. The fetch and sync data, these are two screens where you can manually push and pull data between the two systems. So for instance, if I knew there were new customers waiting to be pulled into the system, I could select it and process it. In doing this, the only thing I'm doing is pulling the data into this connector. I would have to go back to the sync data to then take it from the connector and push it into the ERP. Obviously, you can set that up to synchronize all at once if that was important to you. Now, this is the really important screen. So when we get into the sync status page, this is going to show you every single node of data that passes between the two systems. So whenever I pull up my sales orders, I'm going to look at all. We can see, let's go back and check. That was 197. And why am I not seeing it? Well, this is where you can see all of your orders that are passing from one system to the next. From here, you can open up the sales order inside the ERP. You can also open up the order inside of BigCommerce. I'm not seeing 197 here, so let's go into our sales orders. And for some reason, it's not showing up. Okay, so let's go ahead and just fetch our data. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to check on the sales orders and we're going to process. Okay, so it's picking up that there's one here. Close that out. We'll jump back and sync up the data. Yeah, there's 197. Not sure why it didn't come in real time. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and synchronize that. And then as soon as we pull this into the ERP, we'll open up the sales order. We'll go into our sales orders here. There's that order 197. We open this up. And everything that you see here is exactly what you would expect, regardless of how the information is entered as a sales order. Maybe sales orders created over the phone, maybe it's created from the e-commerce site. Really, at the end of the day, the sales order should be pretty universal across all those different methods. We can see the 2 products that have been added to the cart. Every single customer I talked with, they handle their sales orders a little bit differently. In this case, we're just going to go through the process of creating a shipment. This is the warehouse I want to ship it from. Now, when we get into the shipping process, this is where you could print out a pick list. You can print your shipping labels. In this case, what I'm really focused on doing, I want to drop in a tracking number. I'm just going to add a fake one. Obviously, this would all be automated once you set up your real system. Once we get that tracking number in, we're going to confirm the shipment. And then we'll go back here once again. Let's see if, you know, just in case, let's just go ahead and fetch this and send it out so that we don't run into that same issue again. So we're going to push this shipment back out to BigCommerce. And what I want to show you is that the customer is going to see that information come into their My Account. Okay, find that shipment. We're going to process this. Close this down. Now I'm going to go back to the site and we'll probably get in there quicker than it changes. Oh, it actually shipped already. So I'm now in my account area as that B2B customer. I can see all of my different orders in the past. This is that 197, and as you can see, it's been updated to shipped. Obviously, when you send that shipment notice to the BigCommerce system, you can configure it to notify the customer via email or SMS message, however you like. And then as well, the tracking number shows up here down in the order. What's really nice, the other thing that I want to point out, when I'm looking at all these different orders, technically, it is possible to send online and offline orders from the ERP to BigCommerce. So again, in that B2B environment, there's a lot of customers that place orders online and offline. And this information, both online and offline orders, can show up inside of BigCommerce if that's important to you. A lot of B2B customers tell me that. And the one thing I'll mention too is I keep mentioning a lot of the B2B features. B2B has a lot of complexities. We're all very familiar with B2C because we're all consumers. We all shop online and we know what's important to us. Gift cards, coupon codes, multiple promotions like buy one, get one free and free items. All of those B2C features are supported in the system as well. What really makes this integration unique, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that BigCommerce supports B2B functionality. What really makes it unique is all the B2B features that are supported inside the system. The last thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll jump back to Johnny and Jack. If we go into, I'm going to use this camera as an example. We looked at these attributes earlier, and all of the information like the title, the photos, the description, those kinds of fields of data are universal across all products. But when we get into things like pixel size and wide angle, these are very specific to this particular product. And inside the ERP, those are set up as what is called attributes. Inside the ERP, you can add product attributes inside the item window, and you can also add custom fields. So if we go into the attributes, you can assign sorry about this. Inside the attributes tab, you can assign unique attributes to this particular product, like wide angle and like your wide angle and the pixel size and everything. You also have the ability to go into here, sorry. This is where the attributes are saved. And you can also go into the e-commerce tab. And if it was important to you, you could add custom fields here. And those custom fields inside the commerce connector, you could use the entities window to map those fields over to BigCommerce. So custom fields could be fields of information that you know is going to be important to your customer, but they're not universal. So you can add the custom fields or the attributes to the item. You would use this entities window here to expose that information to the API and then push that information into BigCommerce in specific locations. Another great example, in the B2C world, a lot of times the customers that I've met, their ERP is set up with product titles that are relevant to the organization, but they're not marketing oriented. They're not titles that are great for Google search engine results or for even communicating to the customer what the product is. So in their case, they'll go inside of the product, the item window in the inventory, and they'll create what they call a marketing title, and that'll be separate from the actual product title. They'll send that marketing title into BigCommerce to map to that product title. So it's what's rendered on the website. What I'm getting at here is that the needs that we've seen with customers are very wide and ranging, okay? And what we've accomplished with this system is a very flexible system that allows you to configure for those needs without the requirement of having a developer. So whether it's needing custom fields, whether it's maybe you only want to send a fraction of your products over to BigCommerce, maybe your inventory levels need to be filtered in such a way so that the correct information is being posted on the website. All of those things can be configured right inside these windows without a developer, which is a real strong separator with this platform. So that's everything I wanted to show you. And I think Johnny and Jack, you guys were taking questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has about the system. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll give it back to you, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you. Start sharing again. Great presentation, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, sorry about the real-time thing. I'm not sure what was going on. I'll have to look into that.
It's a demo, and that always happens in demos.
Yeah, right. There's always one thing.
Yeah. Hey, so before we jump into questions, this is Jack again. We've got some additional resources that we would like to share with you. So first off is this Cloud ERP Evaluation Checklist. If you go to fortuitas.com/ERP Evaluation Checklist, you can enter some information and download this. You know, moving to a new ERP solution is a big decision for a business, and it's a decision you're going to make for many years to come. So we want to make sure you have all the tools you need to make the most informed decision. This particular checklist is going to save you many hours of research. It'll allow you to compare different solutions, help you to focus your research on the 5 most important categories of benefits, as well as 45 different features of ERP, 9 essential productivity features that are really necessary for any ERP. So again, this is going to save you a lot of time in your evaluation. It's also going to minimize your risk once you bring a recommendation to, let's say, your executive steering committee. Say, look, I've been very thorough, or as a team, you're going to look at this very, very thoroughly. So once you download this as a follow-up, you're also going to get a series of emails with data sheets, white papers, case studies, basically all the things you need to better evaluate your choice for Cloud ERP. And then the other thing, if you go to our website at fortuitas.com and you go to the main nav under products and then Acumatica, you'll come to this page, which is fortuitas.com, get commerce ERP. And there's some information and some videos specifically based on your role in your company. So if you're a business owner, an accounting professional, or if you're the person that handles sales orders, if you're responsible for inventory and warehouse management, or if you're in IT management, there's very specific content for you. Now, if you want to request a private demo of Acumatica, you can do that from here. We can give you a more in-depth look at Acumatica and address use cases specific to your business. And then lastly, if you want to schedule some time to meet with us, you can go ahead and do that from our contact page, or send us an email if you have any more questions, or hit us up on our chat bot. I also wanted to share with you some promotions for Q2 for our Lunch and Learn attendees here today. So if you purchase an annual license and go on an annual payment plan, you can get a 25% discount with a 3-year price lock. And that's good until the end of this month. And then the next one is a monthly subscription. So we call this 20-20-20. You'll get a 20% discount for 3 years with a price lock for 3 years. You also get a free upgrade to the M1 resource level. And for those of you that have no idea what I'm talking about, Johnny mentioned earlier how Acumatica is based on consumption-based licensing. So this will bump you up to 3,000 monthly commercial transactions. There's a whole conversation we can have about what that means, but we can talk to you about it. This is also through June 30th. And with both these offers, it's, after the 3 years, you're subject to an increase. One of the things in the Acumatica Customer Bill of Rights, you'll never get more than a 3% increase with Acumatica. This is also eligible for new customers moving from a competing product to Acumatica. It doesn't include the small business edition, and it doesn't include any third-party marketplace ISV connectors and that type of thing. And then the last thing we want to share with you as far as promotions is a BigCommerce promotion. So Fortuitas is also a BigCommerce partner. And if you make the decision to purchase a BigCommerce subscription before the end of this month, you'll get 3 months free. You won't have to pay for any transaction fees, which is pretty big, man. And then you'll receive an advanced marketing toolkit to attract new customers, convert sales, including advanced SEO features, gift certificate capabilities, and promotions. Again, through June 30th for new merchants who choose to subscribe to a BigCommerce plan. So we've got a few more minutes here. Let's go ahead and jump to some questions. If anybody has any questions, we'll be happy to answer for you. The first question that I want to respond to, and we get this a lot, I'll throw this over to Josh. For B2B companies, we're a B2B company, but we want to experiment with direct consumer sales. Is it possible to do both on one website using Acumatica?
Yeah, so it's possible with Acumatica and BigCommerce. So as I mentioned before, you can control that customer experience based on, in BigCommerce, what are called customer groups. So you can have customer groups that represent your B2C customers. You can have customer groups that represent your B2B customers. And then the B2B customers can drill down into different groups, like your wholesale customers or your, let's call them elite customers, and they can all have different customer specific pricing. In that case, you can control those groups and what their customer experience is like. So as I mentioned before, maybe your B2B customers have access to 100% of your inventory, and maybe your B2C customers, maybe they only have access to one product category. All those things are possible. And you can go even further. If you want your site to look different for one customer group versus another customer group, you can do that. It requires, that does require a little more development, but the fact is it's definitely possible.
Great, thanks, Josh. Last week I was in a webinar and a podcast with our partners from Digital River, and we sponsored. It's a great series. If anyone wants to check it out, it's called Uncertainty into Opportunity. And last week we talked about the importance of going direct to consumer. So what you're talking about speaks directly to that question. Let's see. I'm going to throw another question to Johnny. So earlier, Johnny, there was a talk about on-premise versus SaaS and cloud. There's some differences. Can you clarify, like, what's the value of going to a SaaS-based version of Acumatica versus on-premise, or why would you even want to go on-premise? Why would it be better to go with the cloud? And there was also mention of the private cloud. So maybe you can clarify some of that.
Yeah, so really the biggest thing that it boils down to is what you as the business owner want to manage yourself. There, like Josh alluded to a little bit in his talks about the Commerce Edition, there's a lot that goes behind actually hosting your own platform. And I'm talking not just about Acumatica, but also about an e-commerce website. There's things that you have to consider when you're doing that in a public cloud or a private cloud scenario. A lot of those things have to deal with security, things like PCI compliance, credit card transactions, things of that nature that do cost a lot of money to actually just manage and set up. But then it also requires a team of individuals to be able to support that. And with it being a business that's online 24/7, you're going to have people supporting that day in and day out. And so that does take a lot of time and effort. But when you go with a SaaS offering like Acumatica and BigCommerce, all of those things are really taken care of for you. So you have a platform that will be guaranteed to be online based off of their SLAs. And then it's also supported as well. And so those are really the biggest things that I see a difference in between SaaS and operating your own on a public or private cloud, as well as like on premise. Now we do have, clients that are required for any number of reasons to have that level of control. And if you did need a certain level of control where, you were responsible for hosting the database and the web structure of the platform, you probably have a team of people that are supporting that environment already. So there are ways that you can put Acumatica into that. So it's a pretty flexible platform. But again, it really boils down to, do you have the necessary team around you to be able to do that?
Cool. All right. Thanks, Johnny. I think we got time for one more question. So Josh, you showed about order status, order history for someone who's purchased a product through e-commerce and purchased online. The question is, can we give existing customers access to their offline order history?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when we were looking at the My Account, that's one of the things that I was referring to. So there are instances where customers are adding BigCommerce to the ERP or e-commerce platforms in general, and maybe they have 3 years or 10 years of order history, and for one reason or another, it's important that their customers have access to that order history. Maybe they need to look up old invoices, or maybe they need information for their own reports. You can configure the system to take that order history in the past and existing offline orders and push them out to BigCommerce so that they're displayed in the customer's My Account area.
Okay, great. Wow. It's good for everybody to consider, especially for B2B. So I think that's about it. We're right here at the 1 o'clock hour here Pacific. Hope everybody enjoyed their lunch today and enjoyed the presentation. This was recorded, so we'll be happy to send you all a copy of the recording once it's rendered, and also for those that weren't able to make it today. So thank you all for attending. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next event.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone.